And so I've been consistently making investments in Tesla. My last investment was probably the largest gamble I've taken on any stock ever in my life. And I figure, if you're going to risk it, put it in on something that you really feel.
We're here in Magic Playground, Sunnyvale, together with Raj, or some of you know him as Tesla Raj. You just hear his perspective as a Tesla owner, what keeps him sharing the stories that he shares. He's got a chance to try other EVs as well, and just constantly learn new perspectives. So click subscribe, stay updated to more videos on Tesla. Raj, welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me, Daren.
It's so good to see you.
Likewise.
And we literally just met 5 minutes ago.
Well, you've traveled long ways.
I'm really happy to see you here. We've been here for 2 days, and for the audience who haven't met you before, I've got audience from all around the world, what can we know about you?
Well, I'm Tesla Raj. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube primarily. I have an Instagram channel, but I make content to help people understand primarily their Teslas more and better. Talk about products, talk about software, even full guides on how to understand your car and how to use your vehicle. And then we also talk about other EVs that are coming to the market, just so people can be better educated. I would say that it's surrounding just education.
I fully agree. Here in California, and what some would call the heart of EVs, how did your journey at Tesla begin?
Well, I'm big on tech and electronics. And so, once I found out there's a car that's really high tech, I was like, I gotta have one. But that was the Model S days in, early 2013. And it was like, I can't afford a $100K car. So, I shelved it away and put it as a pipe dream. So I bought the Model 3 when it was announced, waited the 2 years. I was, first to pre-order before even sight unseen. And funny story, pre-ordered it 2 years later when it came to the day that you had to wait in line. The wait in line day to order it before the announcement, I threw my back out, and my wife reminded me that we had to go and actually went and stood in line for me. So thank you to my wife for that one. And then waited 2 years, took delivery in 2018, April-ish. And then, I had the car for a couple months, and I was like, I was looking for things like floor mats and stuff like that. And I was, chatting with people on Facebook, and I was like, people have similar questions. So I just made a review on floor mats just for the sake of it. I didn't even have a channel or anything. I just made a video and put it up there, and people liked it. And so I made a second and a third, and it turned into a thing. And then, early 2019 is when I officially created the Tesla Raj handle and channel and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy accidents.
Yes. And it's just really good to just see that people are watching, people are enjoying what they see, or they gain something from it. I think the most rewarding is, like, I've been at events where people have walked up to me and said, hey, this car I bought because of you. Like, you helped me buy this car. And I think from the beginning, the one thing that I've always done is put an email address. I created my email address and made it available to anybody to just email. And it was always at the bottom of all my videos and everywhere in my profiles to just be like, if you have any questions at all, just ask, because it's a new revolution, I would say, this electric revolution. And many people think it's like, it's a car. It's like, no, there's still a lot to it. If I put my mom in my car, she's probably going to be a little like, I don't even know where to begin. And I think it's very helpful to have people that are there to help guide you, and you're setting up a great experience so that they're not disappointed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, some people say a Tesla is like a computer on wheels, or like an iPhone on wheels. So some people say it's very simple on one hand, but others say because it's so different, it can be intimidating. So over the years, as you've met new owners, has the experience been easier to start using a Tesla?
I think it has. I think, along with myself, there's been hundreds of other YouTubers that have created videos. I think Tesla's also stepped up their game on their just brief introduction tutorials to teach you the basics. Now it's like built in onto the screen. It's just wild to see like what the car was when I took delivery and where it is now. Like, it's literally almost like a completely different car. Not looks wise, but even just software and capabilities that it has. So it's funny because these videos also get like outdated because things change. I'll make a full video on the touch screen and then the whole UI will change. So I'll need to make another one. But I think it's definitely gotten easier, and people have learned to just kind of start poking around. Of course, there's a lot of ways to now like see, touch, and experience a Tesla prior to buying it. So they get a little chance to play around with it, which makes it, of course, a little bit easier.
In a mature market like California, where Tesla's been around for a long time, you see Teslas in every other street. What would you say are the remaining barriers to adoption? Like, why is someone still buying an ICE car today in 2023?
I think it's just, I still think that there is that. I think there is a little bit of that range anxiety. In fact, some of my friends that have made the move over to electric, they still have a secondary gas car. That's what we did in 2018, and 2023 we changed to complete electric. So now we have 2 electric cars, and I've asked my wife, like, so how has it been? What's the experience been like? And she's like, well, sometimes it can be a little inconvenient to go to the charger. And I was trying to explain to her, see, in California, I'm ashamed to say this, but we don't use our garages. We use it for storage because space is limited here. And so when you do that, you can't park your car inside and you're not charging. So I've been on a quest to clear out my garage and get both cars in there because the ideal goal is you just unplug and go, and you're never driving more than 300 miles in a day usually. Yeah. And so you have enough range. So right now there's just that little bit of a juggle. And then also we have a lot of supercharging miles. So she always wants to go and leverage that because they'll eventually expire. But I think, outside of that, it's, I think people just need to get more comfortable. Yes. So as they dip their toe in, get an experience with one, or talk to somebody. And so that's why I always encourage people like what you're doing and what I'm doing is like share your experiences. Let people find those experiences and feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, I think this is something I can do. Let me try it out. Or you know what? Let me rent an electric vehicle. Let me use it for the weekend. See how it is. See what the experience is like to road trip in them. Because still people are like, oh, well, stopping, 3 times on a road trip, this and that. And like, for me, that's normal. I have kids. And so they need to stop. They need food. They need drinks. They need to be changed. And it's not as bad as you think. And I think once you have that first foot in and you get one, I think the adoption is a little bit easier. I think here in California, you've seen as you've been here, it's like every other car.
That's right.
It's quite ridiculous. I travel around a lot, and so I know other states are not like it is here. I think people are a little bit more forward thinking and are more very much green and want to adopt to this. And we've also got tons of chargers, but Tesla is definitely easing that transition with how many superchargers there are.
That's right.
Yeah.
5 years ago, it may have been crazy thing to consider EVs, but today it's pretty mainstream. In fact, you're probably be going against the current to get a non-EV right now here in California. You're an early adopter, you love technology, and I believe right now the next frontier for many Tesla owners or even EV owners would be then autonomy or self-driving technology. Yeah. There's autopilot, which is available on every Tesla, and on the extreme end has FSD beta. Yep. How's your journey with these two?
So I think autopilot is an amazing feature. Just the fact that now comes standard for everyone. Back when I bought mine, you had to pay for that. You did not get autopilot. So I love that they've done that. And that allows people to just kind of understand what are the full capabilities of this car. And then there's like, once you understand that and you're like, hey, maybe I could see a benefit to full self-driving and you want to try it. There are the trials or you can do a monthly subscription. I was one of the I think I was like the 3rd or 4th person to get the FSD beta when it first started rolling out to just sprinkle of people. And when I got it then, it was impressive then to see that now it's driving with no lane markings, and it's seeing things. And on the screen, the things just look like blocks. They weren't even cars. Now it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's fully the whole UI is nicely seeing garbage cans, cars, people walking. It's crazy how far it's come. And, early on, it's just impressive to see it do basic things. And then as you started going through, you're just then you start nitpicking. You're like, well, it didn't do this, or it stopped here, or it turned a little bit too wide, or it jerked a little bit. And so think about from then till now, all these fine tunings, the amount of cars that now have FSD, all they're doing is just collecting data. And every time it collects the data, now it allows me to just voice speak what went wrong. They're able to review it. Oh, yep, see that? Let me make a change. And then make a bunch of changes, roll out the next update. So there's been tons of updates. And I can't tell you how much more refined it is now than what it was when it started. And like I said, when it started, it was still pretty decent. I mean, now I'm really like scratching to be like, well, this could have been better. Like in general, if you look at it in its entirety, nobody's got something anywhere on the market that does this. That someone can go online, click buy in like what less than 2 minutes, buy a vehicle that can now essentially drive itself, anywhere around. Like that's quite wild to think about. So I've been really impressed.
It is insane.
Yeah.
That the world's best-selling car in Q1 2023 is a car that can drive itself if you choose to allow it. But the key word here is choose, because it's not yet perfect. For someone like Raj, who's been driving FSD Beta or Autopilot for years, you understand the limitations, so the tool serves you. But if someone's completely new to a Tesla, you ask them to double tap the right stock to try FSD Beta, I'd hesitate.
Right. Well, I think in that regard, like my wife, she won't use it. She actually doesn't even use autopilot. It's just a comfort factor with her. Now, I use her as a great test bed, and Elon just actually brought this up at the shareholders meeting, is that, does it pass the wife test? And I'm actually curious now, because I now think that it's just on that line of maybe possibly passing her test. I would like to blindfold her. I don't know if she's going to like this, and put like noise-proof, soundproof speaker headphones on, and then just see and have her tell me, am I driving or is the car driving?
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really cool test to see, is like, has it reached that point? Because that to me is like, that's the end all test. If she can't tell and it's driving that naturally, that would be pretty incredible. And I think it's very close.
I agree.
Yeah.
I come from Singapore, where we don't get to see the incremental
Right.
changes. We get to see the leaps and changes.
Yeah.
I come here once every maybe 9 months.
Yeah.
So FSD Beta last year, now it's so different. So this trip, the past 2 days that we tried FSD Beta, my mother-in-law can't tell the difference between the human and computer driving.
Right.
She was shocked when she realized that 90% of our driving this trip was on the computer. But that's one stage where I say, I feel subjectively FSD Beta has passed a test where it's quite human-like in its behavior, even knows when to accelerate when it needs to. But it is the driver operation that I feel that it is not for everyone yet.
Right.
There's still a little bit of acclimatization, a bit of training. If you come from a ICE Toyota and you want to try FSD Beta on your own with no one else in the car, that's going to be still a journey. Like you try it in a quiet street first.
Right.
You won't go to the freeway and let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. It is just one of those, and because it still requires you to be present, you do have to be all eyes. The difference that I'm noticing is so my wife doesn't have full self-driving on her Y,
Yeah.
but on that car, when you put in an autopilot, I can glance off and don't have to look straight. And it's quite okay. It just requires you to hold your hand on the steering wheel. Whereas in FSD, if you take your eyes off the road, it immediately starts beeping and blaring at you. If you glance at your phone, in fact, sometimes I'm just looking at the screen and it's like, look back. And I'm like, but I'm looking at this screen. I got to adjust something. So it's very, very cautious. And I think, like you said, you have to be aware of what are the limitations, and where you have to just be vigilant and active. Like, okay, this part here, it may slow down a little bit, so I'm going to give it a little bit accelerator. I know to be a little bit cautious here. I know I'm in FSD Beta, so I need to be a little bit more aware of not only what's in front of you, but also who's in behind you, because sometimes it may be a little bit more cautious than you'd like and brake a little bit earlier. And so just knowing the people around you and just using it in a safe manner.
I agree.
Yeah.
FSD and autonomy is a journey. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
When do you think it would be a minimum viable product for commercial readiness? Where, let's say, an Uber or Hertz adopts it maybe for Bay Area, where they go, okay, it's going to drive you 99% of the time, but this 1% of the time, we need a human to intervene. But it will at least tell you in a very consistent way.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think we'll reach that state?
Now, by that, do you mean someone that there's no one sitting in the driver's seat, or that someone is in the
There will
driver's seat?
still be someone in the driver's seat, but it's
Okay.
at least a commercially viable product.
Good question. I'm thinking a year. To that stage. But I think the problem with even the terminology of full self-driving, a lot of people think, great, I'm going to go to sleep, in the back seat, and it's just going to drive me. Now that, if you ask me, I'll say we're still a ways away from that, probably a couple of years, because there's just so many, there's so many gotchas. There's so many things that can vary between states, countries, just all over the place. Like everything's done a little bit differently. Here in California, to make a right turn, you're allowed to enter the shoulder 500 feet prior to that turn.
Yes.
FSD Beta, for the longest time, and I don't remember if it's still doing it now, but will turn from the lane instead of merging over. And so when it turns from here, there's already someone here, and they're both trying to turn right. So that was like something, but that's like a little bit more unique to California. So there's a lot to learn there, and I think that'll take it more time. But as far as someone being there where they only have to intervene once, if you look right now on YouTube, you'll find a lot of FSD Beta testers, including myself. I haven't uploaded many FSD Beta videos, but a lot of ones now that are having full drives uninterrupted with no disengagements. And so like that's what tells me that we're probably a year max away from it being a viable solution where as long as someone's there to take over once, maybe it can do it.
I agree. So a shout out to Omar from Omar's catalog, who publishes a lot of full no intervention drives. Again, it is not perfect. I've had a few drives the past 2 days where I had to intervene. Many of them were admittedly some very unique scenarios.
Right.
Like there was a fire truck actively putting out a fire, the other lane had too many cars crossing, human and take over.
Yep.
But it's getting there, it's getting better. I'm very excited. What else are you excited about Tesla's future?
Oh man, that's a good question. So, I think, for me, the coolest thing about, for me, I typically, go all in a company that I feel very comfortable with. I still remember back in 2005, I got my first MacBook, and I got an iPod at that time. And when I got the iPod and I held it, it was the first MP3 player that I had, or the first iPod that I had. Before that, I had like SanDisk clips and things like that. And I was like, oh my God, this is an incredible product. Mind you, this is before even iPhone existed. And once I got that in my hand and I realized what an amazing product it was, I invested into Apple. That investment in Apple is what grew and helped me to afford my Model 3, so shout out to that, to me doing that back then. And then now that I have my Tesla, I'll never forget when Consumer Reports said, we don't recommend the Model 3. And Elon was like, why? And they said, well, it's because of stopping distance. And he was like, all right, hold on, let me fix that.
Yeah.
Pushed the software update and fixed it. And Consumer Reports backpedaled and recommended it. And I was like, who can do something like that? Done. Made an investment in Tesla. And so I've been consistently making investments in Tesla. My last investment was probably the largest gamble I've taken on any stock ever in my life. And I figure, if you're going to risk it, put it in on something that you really feel. And so that brings you back to your question is like, well, what do you still see as like, the future? I'm really excited for Giga Berlin and Giga Texas, both coming fully online at their full capacities, because that's just going to mean even more cars being delivered. I'm excited about, obviously, Cybertruck. I think that's what most are excited about. I know that's probably different overseas, but here in the US, people are so hungry for a truck. And I just look at it as like, I still come up to the light and I'll pull up next to a truck driver. And obviously, I'm going to smoke them. I'm faster. But they've got something that I can't do. They can take it off-roading. They can climb. They can, go through water. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, soon we will beat them in that aspect as well. And then it's like, what else does Tesla have that they need to make? So I'm excited about that. Obviously, Roadster deliveries, more semi deliveries. There's still a lot of companies who have ordered tons of semis that have yet to be delivered. There's just so much. Now we've got the Mexico factory that's going to be coming. So there's just so much in the pipeline that it's like, there's so much to look forward to. That this company is going to do amazingly well, and they're so far advanced. And then the cherry on top, Ford's announcement. That was mind-blowing. I was traveling when they made this announcement, and I'm like, yes, somebody outside of Tesla, their eyes have opened. I mean, and Jim basically said that. It was like his kids that told him, well, can we stop at that supercharger? Can we stop at that supercharger? And he was like, no, we have to go to this one that's off Highway 5 in the back over here. And he's like, man, why reinvent the wheel? Let's just use Tesla's supercharging network, which is like, yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. They've done it so well. And, I look at the EV market and I think it's amazing. And I think, everyone should be able to buy whatever they want. I think there's a vehicle for everyone. Some may want a Rivian, some may want a Lightning, and buy whatever you need. But to me, before we bought the Model Y, I was interested in buying a Rivian.
Yes.
And my end response was to pull back from that because I just knew as a family we're going to take this on road trips, and I just didn't want to have a crappy charging experience. And so that's why I still went with a Tesla. It comes down to the charging network, and I think hey, Ford has seen it. So there's just so much. Like as a company, I'm super excited about what they have going for them in the future of Tesla. I've got. This is not investor advice, but I mean, I put a lot of chips on the table for them, so I'm excited. I'm excited about the future for sure.
Really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent cue for Rivian to make an announcement to one day use the North America
Yes.
charging standard. I think it's a win-win for both companies, especially for Rivian. They already have a great product. Why build your own charging network when you can partner with someone else? I don't think that the R1T is necessarily always a competitor to Cybertruck. I think both can exist together. They can complement each other as well. Let us know what you think. Raj, I've learned so much hearing your perspectives. Again, a big part of why we meet all the owners in these channels. Well, this is an investing channel. I truly believe that the best investors truly understand the products and services of the company they invest in. Speak with employees, competitors, engineers from all around to get a more balanced perspective. As Elon Musk always says, first principles. What's the truth? Dig deep and investigate. I learned so much from your perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd
Thank
love
you so
to
much.
host you one day if you and family make a trip down to Singapore.
Oh, I'll hold you to that.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Raj.
All right. Awesome.
If you found this video useful, please click the like button. You can also subscribe to Raj's channel, Tesla Raj. You'll find them in the video description below. Click subscribe to stay updated to more videos on Tesla.